صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أمير المؤمنين ويا سيد الوصيين وقائد الغر المحجلين علي بن أبي طالب. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. May Allah grant us all the ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt in this life and their shafa'ah in the next life. Illuminate your majlis and your heart with a loud salawat for Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We mentioned last night that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was not only born in the Kaaba, the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, but he was also compared to the Kaaba by Rasulullah. And we mentioned the hadith of Rasulullah that is narrated by numerous Sunni scholars, most notably Ibn al-Athir, where the Prophet tells Imam Ali alayhi salam, Ya Ali anta bimanzilat al-Kaaba. You, Ali, are like the Kaaba. There is a striking resemblance between the Kaaba and Ali. When you see the Kaaba and you see Ali, it's as if you are seeing identical creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Prophet explained how Imam Ali resembles the Kaaba. And he explains it so eloquently and concisely. We mentioned the hadith. The Prophet says, Oh Ali, you are like the Kaaba. You resemble the Kaaba. How? The Prophet said, Tu'ta wa la ta'ti. The Prophet said that you are sought, but you do not seek. And we mentioned the first meaning of this hadith. What does the Prophet mean? When he says Ali, like the Kaaba, they are both sought, but they do not seek. The first meaning was what we addressed last night. That Allah Azza wa Jal has placed certain blessings in the Kaaba. Those blessings have to be sought. If we don't go to the Kaaba, we are depriving ourselves from the mercy, istijabat al-du'a, dua answered, and forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, the Prophet is saying, Ya Ali, you are like the Kaaba. Meaning Allah has placed so many benefits in your ziyarah, just like the ziyarah of the Kaaba. And we mentioned the traditions, the istijaba of dua by the shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We mentioned the shafa'ah of Amir al-Mu'mineen when we go and do his ziyarah by his grave. Allah Azza wa Jal forgives us of our sins. And Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is the door to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's repentance. So we have to seek Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam in the same way we seek the Kaaba. The second meaning that the Prophet refers to in this hadith, "O Ali, you are like the Kaaba. You seek, you are sought, but you do not seek," is that the Prophet is referring to Khilafah. And this is a very beautiful point that the Prophet addresses in this hadith. You see, after Rasulullah died, when the Khilafah was taken away from Imam Ali alayhi salam, there is this discussion that if Imam Ali was the rightful Khalifa appointed by God and by Allah, then why didn't he seek Khilafah? Why didn't he go and defend his haqq? Why didn't he fight like Imam Hussein fought on the day of Ashura? Why was Imam Ali, some people look at him as being passive? He sat down all those years and he let those individuals rule in the name of the Khilafah of Rasulullah. This is a very lengthy discussion. Why didn't Imam Ali alayhi salam fight back, wage a war against them? There are books that are written by our ulama addressing this question. Rasulullah in this hadith beautifully answers the question in 3 words. He says, "O Ali, you are like the Kaaba. You are sought, but you do not seek." He says, you do not seek Khilafah, Ali. Khilafah has to seek you. And then the Prophet continues. He says, فَإِنْ أَتَاكَ هَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمِ وَسَلَّمُوهَا إِلَيْكَ فَاقْبَلْ. He says, after me, if they come and they offer you Khilafah, they tell you to be Khalifa, you accept. وَإِلَّا, but if they did not, they went and they formed their own Saqifa, and they chose their own leader, the Prophet orders Ali to neglect them and to completely forget them unless they come to you. So why did Imam Ali alayhi salam not go after Khilafah? Because the Prophet tells him, Ya Ali, you are like the Kaaba. The people have to come to you. You don't go to them asking for Khilafah. If they came to you and offered you Khilafah, wanted you to be the Khalifa, then you accept and you become the Khalifa. Look at the Kaaba, brothers and sisters. The Kaaba, have you ever seen the Kaaba move? The Kaaba has been in its position for thousands of years. Remember, we mentioned last time, since the time of Prophet Adam, it has been in that area and it was not moved at all. The Kaaba does not come to anyone. Everyone has to go to the Kaaba. And the Kaaba today represents the center of Islam. It's the heart of Islam that all the Muslims gravitate to. Whether in their salah or whether going to Hajj or Umrah, it just sits there and everyone in the Muslim world gravitates towards. The Prophet tells Ali, Ya Ali, you are like the Kaaba. The Kaaba is the center of Islam. Thus people have to gravitate towards the Kaaba. And you, Ali, are the center of Iman. People have to gravitate to you. You don't go to them. What a beautiful meaning, brothers and sisters. Ali ibn Abi Talib is the embodiment of the Kaaba. The Kaaba seeks nobody. You have to seek the Kaaba. And that's why Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam never went and actively sought Khilafah. Well, you might say, wasn't it his right? And you have to seek your right? Our rights have to be sought. We have to go after them? No. Khilafah was not the right of Ali. Listen carefully. Khilafah was not the right of Ali. Ali was the right of Khilafah. Khilafah was honored by Ali alayhi salam stepping in. Not Ali ibn Abi Talib was honored by Khilafah. What is Khilafah compared to Ali ibn Abi Talib? Think it's such a big deal that Imam Ali would even waste time over Khilafah? He is what gave prestige and beauty to Khilafah. So Khilafah has to run after him, right? You don't run after something that is lower than you. Khilafah has to come to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. What a beautiful meaning that the Prophet mentions in this hadith. And that's why you find Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. To him, Khilafah was worthless. He could care less about Khilafah. Why would he even waste time going after Khilafah? Because who will benefit if Imam Ali becomes the Khalifa? Who will benefit? The Ummah will benefit, right? If the Ummah will benefit from Imam Ali being their leader, he has to run after them or they have to run after him? They have to run after him. When he's not benefiting from Khilafah, why would he run after it? When Khilafah to the Imam is worthless, why would the Imam go and force people to follow him? You don't want me? Fine. It's just like the Kaaba. The Kaaba, imagine if everyone says, we don't want the Kaaba. We don't want to go to the Kaaba. You think the Kaaba cares? You think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cares? You think that will bring down from the status of the Kaaba? A gem is a gem, whether people seek it or they don't. This is how Ali ibn Abi Talib. So the Prophet in this hadith is highlighting this fact, that the center of Iman is Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. We have to go to the center. We have to go and seek Ali. He doesn't come and seek us. It doesn't even make sense for Ali to go after Khilafah. And that's why even Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he went to Karbala, it wasn't after Khilafah. Had nothing to do with Khilafah and power. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because he received letters from people in Al-Kufa to come and support us and we will rise against the injustice, the Imam was only answering the call of the people. He was not going after Khilafah. In fact, the Imam knew. He was told by his grandfather, he was told by his father, that you will be killed in Karbala. You don't think the Imam has at least that little understanding of politics? He wasn't going after Khilafah. He knew he was going to be killed. What was he going after? He was going after the fact that people had requested him to come. And when people request, when people seek you, when they want you to come, this is when you move. Or else Ali ibn Abi Talib would never go after Khilafah. One day, when Imam Ali alayhi salam becomes, it's the first day that he is chosen as the Khalifa after Uthman was killed. It's his first day in office. Usually a new king, a new prime minister, new Khalifa. Imam Ali governed a huge nation. All of the Middle East today. That was how large the Muslim empire was. Ibn Abbas, the cousin of Imam Ali, comes to visit him in his office. First day, being the Khalifa. What does he find Imam Ali doing on that day? Usually the first day, when someone enters a new office, they're trying to decorate, they're trying to furnish the office, they are buying all these new clothing, correct? They're preparing themselves for this new office. Ibn Abbas comes and he sees Ali ibn Abi Talib. You know what he was doing? Brothers and sisters, pay attention for 1 minute. We can let go of our iPhones for a minute and direct our hearts towards Ali ibn Abi Talib. You know what Imam Ali was doing? Ibn Abbas says, this is Nahj al-Balagha. He says, I saw the Imam, he was fixing his shoe. The Khalifa is fixing his shoe. So what does Ibn Abbas think? Ali is still pre-Khilafah mode. Maybe he still isn't aware. He hasn't realized, Ali, you're the Khalifa. You don't need to fix your shoe anymore. You have hundreds of servants. You own everything now. You're fixing your shoe? Who fixes their shoe, brothers and sisters? Anyone here fixes their shoe if it gets torn or if anything happens to it? No, we throw it away. Aslan, we throw away our shoes when it's perfectly looking fine, nothing wrong with it. Why? Because the newer version came out. Because the better, the newer color, the this, the that. Imam Ali is fixing his shoe. So Ibn Abbas tells him, Ya Ali, what are you doing? There's delegations waiting. There are ambassadors from all over the world that want to come and congratulate you. You're fixing your shoe. Imam Ali tells him, "Oh, Ibn Abbas, how much is this shoe worth, you think?" Ibn Abbas sees a youth shoe and it's torn. He tells him, "Ya Ali, this has no resale value." Amir al-Mu'mineen tells him, "Oh, Ibn Abbas, I don't think you know who I am yet. I don't think you have come to understand who Ali ibn Abi Talib is. He is the Kaaba of Iman." He tells him, "Oh, Ibn Abbas, this khilafah that you are so preoccupied by, this khilafah that people kill themselves over, it is worth less than this shoe in my eye. Unless I can use it to promote the haqq, to establish justice and truthhood, and to take down falsehood. But just khilafah, absolutely meaningless in the eyes of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Such a person who sees khilafah lower than a shoe, why would he waste time go after khilafah? Why? When he has so many things to do. He's compiling the Quran. He's writing tafsir of the Quran. He is teaching his close companions the ahkam of religion. He is busy in his ibadah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why would he waste time over a shoe? You see how Imam Ali sees khilafah? You see why he never went after khilafah? Because khilafah was worthless in his eyes. I go after khilafah, khilafah comes to me. I am the Kaaba. This is not being arrogant. This is the reality of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He is the Kaaba of our Iman. Just like the Kaaba is the center of Islam, Ali ibn Abi Talib is the center of faith. There's a beautiful hadith that you can find in the book of Fada'il al-Sahaba. Fada'il al-Sahaba is a book compiled by Ahmed ibn Hanbal. We mentioned him last night as well. The famous Sunni Imam of the Hanbali sect. In his book Fada'il al-Sahaba, he mentions this hadith that we also narrate in our Shia books, but it's a bit different. I'll mention it from this book. From the book of Fada'il al-Sahaba by Ahmed ibn Hanbal. He says that one day, he narrates, that one day, one of the employees that worked in the government of Imam Ali comes to Imam Ali and he brings him very important news. What is it? His name is Ibn al-Tayyah or Ibn al-Nabbah, depending on the different variations. He tells him, "Ya Ali, I have great news." What is it? He says, "Come and look at the Muslim treasury." Back then, because it was all gold and silver, they used to have like a huge room, like a safe box, you know, like a vault in banks. And they would put all the gold and silver there. That was the Muslim treasury. He says, "Ya Ali, the Muslim treasury is completely full because they have brought from somewhere, they have brought the troops so much gold and silver that it is completely full. Yani hundreds of millions of dollars by today's standard." You know what Imam Ali says? He says, "Allahu Akbar." And he gets up. He goes with Ibn al-Tayyah to the Muslim treasury. Now what is Ibn al-Tayyah? Thinks Imam Ali so happy, yes, all this money. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes and he looks at all the gold and the silver that they have completely filled the Muslim treasury. And then he recites a line of poetry, هَذَا جَنَايَ وَخِيَارُهُ فِيهِ. He says that this is what I have harvested. And now it is time to dig in. Now it is time to enjoy. So what does Ibn al-Tayyah think? That Ali is gonna what? Now is greedy, is gonna take the money. So he tells, Amir al-Mu'mineen tells Ibn al-Tayyah, "Go and call the people of Kufa, let them come and form lines outside the Muslim treasury." "Why, Ya Ali? What do you want to do?" He tells him, "Don't worry, go and call them and you'll see." So all the people of Kufa, they come and they stand in lines. Then the Imam alayhi salam stands and he tells his guards and he tells his troops to pass out all the gold and the silver to everyone that is waiting in line. They tell him everything. He says everything down to the last golden or silver coin. And they begin to disperse. While Imam Ali is standing and he's looking at the money being dispersed, he's smiling. He's so happy. And he begins to say these words, Ya Safra, Ya Bayda, oh gold, oh silver. He wouldn't even call it gold and silver, he would call it by its color. Oh, the color of gold. Oh, the color of silver or white. Ghurri ghayri. Don't think that you can tempt Ali ibn Abi Talib. Don't think that I have greed for you. غري غيري لا حاجة لي إليك. I don't want you, I don't care for you, I have no appetite or desire for you. Son, what makes me happy is when I see the money being distributed to the fuqara. His advisors, they were shocked. What is this? He didn't leave anything for the Muslim nation. Many countries, they put money for years in savings. Imam Ali alayhi salam kept on giving and giving until, they say, the hadith says, the whole Muslim treasury was completely empty. You know what the Imam did then? He washed it. He washed it with water. And then he cleaned it. And then he prayed 2 rak'ahs to Allah Azza wa Jal, thanking Allah Azza wa Jal that He has given him this tawfiq, that He has given all the money away. And then he would say, I do this so that this piece of earth will testify for me on the day of judgment, that I did not keep any money, I gave it all to the poor and needy. That's why when you see Imam Ali goes on the minbar and he says, وَلَعَلَّ بِالْحِجَازِ أَوْ الْيَمَامَ مَنْ لَا طَمَعَ لَهُ فِي الْقُرْصِ. He says, and maybe in my kingdom there is a person who is poor. Maybe there is a person who is hungry. The Imam is not exaggerating. This is not an exaggeration when we say that during the 4 years that Imam Ali governed, there was not a single person that slept hungry in the Muslim nation. Why? Because the Imam would not save anything. He did not believe in savings. He did not believe in emergency funds. How can I keep the money while there are people who are starving? Every government now, they'll keep billions of dollars in their reserves, and there's people suffering, there's people starving, there's people that don't have access to water, to food, to healthcare. Imam Ali did not believe in this nonsense. The money is there, the same day I give it all away. This was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. He would say, والله لدنياكم هذه أزهد عندي من ورقة في فم جرادة. He says, this dunya is less than, in my eyes, is less than a leaf that a grasshopper chews. To Imam Ali, you know the $100 bill that we love, and a leaf, to Imam Ali, they were the same. They were exactly the same. He says, this is how this dunya is in my eyes. It's like a leaf that insects eat. مَا لِعَلِيٍّ وَلِنَعِيمٍ تَفْنَى. He says, why would I even go after the dunya? It's so temporary. It's so transient. It's so worthless. This was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. And that's why when Uthman died, you know, for the first 25 years, Imam Ali never went after Khilafah, right? He never fought for Khilafah because he could care less about Khilafah. But when Uthman was killed, what happened? The Muslims, they came to him by the thousands and they begged him to be the Khalifa. Such that he says in Nahjul Balagha, they came, they trampled Hassan al-Hussein aslan. That's how much people came. Imam Hassan al-Hussein were trampled. They were begging him, there were riots, protests, we want Ali. Imagine, we want Ali. This is when he says, fine. The hadith of Rasulullah, Ya Ali, you are like the Kaaba. You do not seek, but you are sought. If they came to you and asked you to be the Khalifa, you accept. Now he saw that the people have come to him and asked him to be the Khalifa. And that's why after they gave him the bay'ah, he went on the minbar and he clarified this point, that Imam Ali still has no interest. He still has no appetite in this dunya. Then why did you accept being the Khalifa? He mentioned why. He said, this is in Nahjul Balagha, he says, وَالَّذِي فَلَقَ الْحَبَّ وَبَرَأَ النَّسَمَ. He swears by Allah Azza wa Jal. He says, لَوْلَا حُضُورُ الْحَاضِرِ وَقِيَامِ الْحُجَّةِ بِوُجُودِ النَّاصِرِ لَأَلْقَيْتُ حَبْلَهَا عَلَى غَارِبِهَا وَلَسَقَيْتُ آخرها بكأس أولها. He says the only reason I accepted to be Khalifa is because there are so many people who are supporting me and asking me, because they have sought me now. And if it wasn't for all these people coming and asking me to be the Khalifa, I would have never went after Khilafah. I could care less about Khilafah. وَلَأَلْفَيْتُمْ دُنْيَاكُمْ هذه أهون من عفطة عنز. Or else this dunya means nothing in my eyes. This dunya is worthless in my eyes. This was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. And not only that, brothers and sisters, not only that, but you find that Imam Ali not only did not benefit from Khilafah, it was a burden, it was a punishment, it was adab upon him. There is a hadith, one of the students of Shaykh al-Saduq, al-Khazzaz, al-Qummi narrates, he says that after Imam Ali alayhi salam's Khilafah was taken away, in those final days of the life of Fatima, one of the companions by the name of Mahmud ibn Labid, he came to Fatima and he asked her, Ya Fatima, why is Ali sitting in his house? Why doesn't he go and wage war against these zalimeen? You know what Fatima told him? She told him the exact hadith of Rasulullah. She told him, Oh Mahmud, he does not go after Khilafah because my father instructed him. He told him, Ya Ali, you are like the Kaaba. You do not seek Khilafah. Khilafah has to seek you. He's not going to go after Khilafah. What is the worth of Khilafah in the eyes of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam? It's the Ummah that will benefit from him. They don't want him, khalas, leave them. He's not going to force them. So not only did Imam Ali not benefit from Khilafah, he did not care about Khilafah. Aslan Khilafah proved to be a burden on the heart of Ali ibn Abi Talib. All he saw from his 4 years in Khilafah was agony, was stress, was misery, was disappointment and grief. Because those people did not value Amir al-Mu'mineen. They did not appreciate Ali ibn Abi Talib. Constantly they would disrespect him. They would disobey him. They would mock him. No one appreciated Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. I mean, imagine Imam Ali with all that knowledge. He goes on the minbar and he says, Saluni qabla an tafquduni, right? Ask me. Imagine Imam Ali comes here and he says, ask me. Allahu Akbar. That will be a dream come true. The different questions that we want to ask him about the Quran, about the aqaid, about the beliefs, about this, about that. He tells them, ask me. Oh, you wanted me to be the Khalifa? I have the knowledge of Rasulullah. Ask me and I will answer any question that you have. One of them stands up. You know what he says? He says, Ya Ali, I have a question. He says, what's your question? He says, my question is, how many hairs, how many strains or strands of hair are there on my head? Can you believe that? He's making fun of Imam Ali. If someone on the minbar asks me such a question, I will come down, I'll say, Salamu alaikum everyone, I'm going back to Michigan. Seems like you guys don't care about knowledge. Seems like you don't need me. There's no need for me. Imam Ali sees this person is serious. He's asking this question. How many hairs on my head? This is how they viewed Ali ibn Abi Talib. Did they deserve Ali ibn Abi Talib? Now you see why he never went after Khilafah? Because they were not, these weren't even human beings. They were savages. These individuals were worse than animals. And Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam's heart was filled with so much sorrow and agony and grief because of all the oppression and injustice that he saw from his own people. Go to Nahj al-Balagha, brothers and sisters. Sermon 27, Imam Ali, you can really see and feel the deep pain of Imam Ali when he was the Khalifa. You can see what the people did to him and how he expressed that. He says in Nahj al-Balagha, he begins the sermon. He's very upset at his people in Kufa. He tells them, I kept on giving you orders and commands to fight Muawiyah, to not let him advance, but you kept on disobeying me. I tell you to fight. If it's summer, you tell me it's too hot. If it's winter, you tell me it's too cold. Excuse after excuse. Now, Muawiyah has become so powerful. It's all because of your disobedience to me, Imam Ali tells them. And then he tells them these very powerful words. He says, Ya ashbah al-rijal, wala rijal. He says, you look like men, but you're not real men. You're not real men, because you are all cowards. And then he says, Wallahi yumitul qalba wa yajlibul ham. You know, he says what crushes my heart, what is so painful and disheartening. اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم وتفرقكم عن حقكم. You see those troops of Muawiyah, the people of Muawiyah, they are so united under Muawiyah. They are so dedicated. They are so submissive to Muawiyah while they know Muawiyah is on the batil. Trust me, no one that followed Muawiyah really thought Muawiyah was the real Khalifa. No, because dunya, because he gave them money, he gave them power. While you have Ali, and you know you are on the right path, and you are so disunited and weak, and your determination is so ill. Why? You have Ali, and yet you're so disunited, and they have Muawiyah, and they're so united. What is wrong with you? And then the Imam, he begins to say these heartbreaking words. Allahu Akbar. It shows you the pain that he was living between those people. Wallahi, they did not deserve having Amir al-Mu'mineen as their Khalifa. And then he told them, he says, Wallah, laqad mala'tum qalbi qayha. He says, you have filled my heart with agony, with sadness, with grief. Laytani lam a'rifukum. I wish I would have never met you. Basically saying, I wish I would have never accepted this Khilafah. What did I get from this Khilafah? But betrayal, but agony, but deception, but treason, but disobedience, disloyalty. He says, I wish I would have never known you for what you have done to me. لَوَدَدْتُ أَنِّي لَمْ أَرَكُمْ وَلَمْ أَعْرِفْكُمْ. I wish I would have never seen you. I would have stayed in my house. وَشَحَنْتُمْ صَدْرِي غَيْظًا وَجَرَّعْتُمُونِي نُغَبَ التَّهْمَامِ أَنفَاسًا. He says, I endured so much pain, stress because of you, because of what you are doing to me on a daily basis. And this is who? Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is not someone who has no patience. This is the man that said, فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَذَى وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى. He says, when I saw Khilafah was taken away from me, and I had to stay home, and I saw the Zalimeen in power, he said that was not easy, because the Imam doesn't want falsehood to rule. He wants haqq. He wants truthhood to rule. He says it was very difficult for me to stay patient, because I had to follow the order of Rasulullah. Oh Ali, do not seek Khilafah. Khilafah has to seek you. He says, فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَذَى. He said, I had so much patience, it was like I had a thorn stuck in my eye. Imagine for 25 years, there's a sharp thorn in your eye, and you just have to live with it. Every second will be torture, right? This is how Imam Ali alayhi salam lived those 25 years before being the Khalifa. وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى. And it's as if there is a bone stuck in my throat for 25 years. But he says, فَصَبَرْتُ. But yet, in the face of all those difficulties, Imam Ali was like a mountain that had so much patience. But yet, this was when he was not the Khalifa. When he became the Khalifa, look at the agony and the pain that this patient man suffers from, that he says these words. He says that you have crushed my heart. He says you have destroyed my life because of all the disobedience and mockery that you make. ساعد الله قلب أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. The Imam عليه السلام only had a few loyal supporters. The majority, they were after dunya and desires. And that's why you see, also in Sermon 182 of Nahj al-Balagha, it is the last sermon that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam gave. So, if tonight is the 20th of Ramadan, almost a week before, if we were during the time of Imam Ali, the Imam, he stood and he gave a very heartbreaking khutbah. Brothers and sisters, read Nahjul Balagha, some of the parts, read it, understand it. Wallahi, they give you so much insight into Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam's psychology. They give you so much understanding of what Imam Ali went through. He speaks, he delivers his final message, and he was preparing his troops to once again go and fight Muawiyah and Siffin. So round 2. You know what he said in that speech? It's unbelievable what the Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen said. He said, مَا ضَرَّ إِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي صِفِّينَ أَنْ لَا يَكُونُوا مَعَنَا أَحْيَاءَ الْيَوْمِ. He says, you know, our brothers that died in Siffin, that were killed by Muawiyah and Siffin, what did they lose by not being present here today? They lost nothing. In fact, they have finally been relieved of the suffering of this dunya. Allahu Akbar. He's basically saying, I wish I was killed in Siffin, and I would have enough of this agony and distress and suffering from you. He says, those people in Siffin that died, my companions, I don't even wish that they were here, because they would suffer with me. But then he begins to miss them. So then he wishes that they were there, because he felt so lonely between the thousands of companions and the troops that he had, but he felt so lonely. He said, أين إخواني الذين مشوا في الطريق? Where are my brethren that used to follow the haqq no matter what the cost was? And then he began to mention them one name after the other. Subhanallah, you see how Aba Abdullah, he stood on the day of Ashura when he was all alone. He began to say, Ya Habib, Ya Burair, Ya Muslim, Ya John, Ya Abtal al-Safa wa Fursan al-Hayja, Mali unadikum fala tujibun. The Imam felt so lonely because the Imam really had no one to fight for him. So he began to call the names of his companions who were killed. Imam Ali, even though he had all those thousands, but yet he felt so lonely. So then he began to remember his loyal companions that were killed in Siffin. What did the Imam say? He said, أين عمار? Where is Ammar? Ammar bin Yasir. أين عمار وأين ابن التيهان وأين ذو الشهادتين خزيمة ibn Thabit? They were all killed in the battle of Siffin. وأين نظراؤهم من إخواننا الذين واعدوا الموت? And where are the others that are like Salman, that are like Ammar, that are like Khuzaymah, that are like Ibn Tayyahan, those loyal companions of mine who pledged their lives for Allah? They vowed their lives to death, and their heads were gifted to the enemies. Where are these individuals? Nawfal Bukali, he is the narrator of this khutbah, the final khutbah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, then we saw Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, after he remembered his loyal companions and Siffin, he put his hand on his beard and he began to cry and cry and cry. What did they do to your heart, Ya Ali, that you stood in front of all those men and you were crying because of all the betrayal that you saw, Ya Ali? Nawfal Bukali, he says, Amir al-Mu'mineen finished his sermon And then he prepared the troops to go and fight against Muawiyah for one last time. He says Imam Hussein alayhi salam was entrusted with 10,000. Qais ibn Sa'ad with 10,000. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari 10,000, and many others. And they began to advance towards Muawiyah. He says less than a week after the khutbah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says Ibn Muljam la'anahullah struck Amir al-Mu'mineen on his head. He says the troops, Imam Hussein was not even there. He was going to fight Muawiyah, and then Imam Ali was supposed to join. All of a sudden the troops, while they're going to Muawiyah, the news reaches that your commander Ali is dead. That your commander Ali has been struck on his head in the mihrab. Aywa Aliyah. Imam Hussein rushes back to Kufa. Nawfal Bukhari says, you know how we felt when we were told that our master Ali was killed? He said we felt like lost sheep whose owner was gone, and the wolves begin to attack them from every side. This is how we were after we lost our Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein rushed to Masjid al-Kufa because they were not there, they were not present when their father Ali was struck in the mihrab. As soon as they enter, they see their father Ali. Their father Ali is laying on the ground, blood all over the place, and the deep injury on his head. You know what the hadith says? The hadith says Hassan and Hussein cried out, Abata علي يا ليت الحياة أعدمنا. We wish we were killed before we see our father in this condition. Imam Hassan sits by his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He asks for a piece of cloth, and then he wraps the head of Imam Ali alayhi salam to stop the blood. Imam Ali, what is he thinking about? Allahu Akbar. I heard this from one of the khutaba, one of the speakers. He says that he read in one of the sources that the strike of Ibn Muljam was so deep that it had reached the eyebrows of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Allahu Akbar. In a condition like that, what can anyone think about? The pain of Ali. But yet, you know what he was thinking about? He was thinking about Salat al-Fajr, because it was time for Salat al-Subh. Oh mu'mineen, oh mu'minat. Your master Ali, in the final moment, when he was struck and covered with blood, he did not forget about the Salah. He told his son Hassan, you go and pray, you be the Imam. And Imam Ali prayed behind an Imam al-Hassan while he was sitting. If we are true Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib, then we will never abandon our Salah. شیعیان امیر مؤمنین وقتی امیر المؤمنین رو زمین افتاد، در آن حالت که امام ضربه ملعون ابن ملجم خورده بود، تو آن حالت درد و گرفتاری حضرت علی به فکر نماز بود. اگر ما حقا شیعه علی هستیم، باید هممون امشب وعده بدیم به حضرت علی، یا امیر المؤمنین سالها نماز نمی خوندم، سالها نمازم خیلی خراب بود، برام مهم نبود، اما ازم شاید نمازم را درست می کنم، همیشه نمازم را سر وقت می خونم یا علی. بعد از نماز حضرت علی فرمود به فرزندانش حسن حسین ابوالفضل العباس قمر العشیر، همه اونجا بودن پیش پدر. حضرت امیر فرمودند من را بغل کنید ببرید به منزل، طاقتی نداره مسجد بمونه. حسن و حسین حضرت امیر را بغل کردند، امام را بردن به سوی منزل. تو کوچه ها که بودن نمیدونم به چی یادشون افتاد، اما شاید به کوچه های مدینه وقتی کوچیک بودن مادرشون را دیدن تو کوچه ها با زخمی، از مسجد برمیگشت منزل. الان حضرت امیر پر خون و زخم به منزل برمیگرده. رسیدن به منزل حضرت علی گفت حسن حسین یه لحظه منتظر باشید. چیه پدر؟ گفت صورتم پر خونه، صورتم را پاک کنی. امام حسن گفت چرا ای پدر جان؟ گفت چون که بچه ها زنها دخترها طاقتی ندارن. یا علی شما به فکر زینب بودی، به فکر دخترات بودی. بمیرم الهی بر اون دختری که باباشو میخواست در خربه هی میگفت بابام کجاست، یه مرتبه بی سر حسین را آوردن، سر بریده حسین را دید. چی گفت؟ خودش را انداخت بر سر ابی عبدالله الحسین. ابا من الذي حز وريدك، ابا من الذي قطع رأسك، ابا من الذي خضب شیبتك. پدر جان کی من را یتیم کرده؟ پدر جان کی صورتت را خونی کرده؟ کجا بودی یا علی اون شب؟ میفرمایند ارباب مقاتل میگویند که همه پسرا دخترای حضرت امیر دور بر امام جمع شده بودند، میخواستن ببینن وضع حضرت امیر چطور است، امام میمیرد یا نه. یه دکتر خیلی باهوش به نام عروة السلولی صداش کردن، گفتن آیا بیا حضرت امیر پدرمون را چک کن ببین وضعش چطوره. این دکتر عروه اومد حضرت امیر را چک کرد، به سر به اون جای شمشیر نگاه کرد. بعد از اینکه تموم کرد گفت به حضرت علی یا علی وصیتت را بنویس، اعهد عهدك واكتب وصيتك فقد وصلت الضربة الى الدماغ. چون که اون سم الان به مغزت رسید، یعنی بیشتر از یه روز دیگه وقت نداری یا علی. نمیدونم چی شد به حضرت حسن، حسین، زینب، همه ناله زدن، همه داد یا ابتا و ضیعتنا بعدک. من یک کلمه الان اینجا بگم و التماس دعا. اگر یک پدری مریض باشد در باب بیمارستان، وضعش خیلی وخیم و سخت است، معمولا دکتر را صدا میزنن، بهش میگن برو ببین پدرمون زنده میمونه یا میمیره. وقتی منتظر جواب هستن، این چند تا ثانیه مثل سالها میگذره. اما وقتی دکتر میاد میگه پدرتون بیشتر از یک روز نداره، چقدر سخته بر این بستگان. برای این خیلی سخت بود وقتی شنیدن از دکتر که امیرالمومنین کارش تمومه. اما یا علی یک کلمه بگم که شما تا اون حالت زخمی و خون و بیحالی دکتر برای شما آوردن، بین فرزندانت بودی، اما حسینت در روز عاشورا اونم زخمی بود، اونم رو زمین انداختنش، یه تیر 3 شعبه تو قلبش، جسدش پر خون و زخم. امام حسینم دکتر میخواست اما دکتری نیامد، هیچ کس نبود. میدونی چی براش آوردم؟ این شمر لعین آمد به سر ابا عبدالله زد با پاش، بعدش رو سینه حضرت نشست. ایوا حسینا. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Brothers and sisters, raise your hands while your eyes are tearful, while we are commemorating the masa'ib of our Mawla Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. As we mentioned last night, Amirul Mu'mineen is Babul Hawa'ij. And we all have hajat here, so let us raise our hands 10 times together. Hame ba ham 10 martaba. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. يا الله، اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات، اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، اللهم اقضي حوائجنا، اشفي مرضانا، تقبل أعمالنا. Ya Allah, we ask you to grant us our hajat, all the believers, the mu'mineen and mu'minat that have attended tonight. Grant them all their wishes in the dunya and akhirah. Anyone that is sick from this majlis, anyone that we know, any believer, any mu'min that is sick, that is in need, Ya Allah, bring down your shifa tonight, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbal Alameen, we ask you to always allow us and to help us so that we can follow in the footsteps of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Grant us in this life the ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt, the ziyarah of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Grant us in the next life the shafa'ah of Qasimul Jannati wan Nar, the shafa'ah of Rasulullah, the shafa'ah of Ahlul Bayt. And let us end by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. for all the mu'mineen, mu'minat that have departed this life, after a loud salawat for Muhammad and Al Muhammad.